All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to the conversation. It's Christine Jewell. I'm your host of the Untamed Life podcast, and it is story time today. I have a series of stories that I'm going to share with you all. Specifically, that came out of our most recent retreat. There's so many lessons and reflection, and we have a live masterclass coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that because that is really the lead in. There's going to be a live masterclass September 27th. If you're listening to this podcast before September 27th, 2023, it will be live. After that, might be pre-recorded. We'll see how it goes. But it is going to be on prospering, the kingdom way to thriving in chaotic times, right? In uncertain times. There's a lot of chaos out there in the world right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There is a lot of things happening globally around the world, in our economy, in our culture, that has a lot of us going, what on earth is going on, right? What on earth is going on? How do I lead at home? How do I lead in my relationships? How do I lead in my family through times such as this? And I really want to say that if you're a leader, if you're in a position of influence, authority, you have been placed in that position for such a time as this. I really do believe that God is stirring things up. He's stirring things up in our culture. He's stirring things up in our hearts. And he is really looking and calling men and women who will rise, who will be co-creators of this new era that we're stepping into. We are not going back to the way things were. In fact, we are stepping into the new, and we will either be told how it's going to be, or we will be leaders who help co-create part of this new. I really believe that we're in just this great separation that's going on, where some of us are really forging paths. We are unlocking our voices. We're unlocking our gifts. God is putting things in the right order inside of our families, our homes, our businesses, and he's restructuring, right? He's structuring a lot of things. It starts internally. So, if you've been feeling restless, if you've been sort of feeling this restructuring going on, maybe in your business, in your relationships, where you feel like, man, we are not going back to the way things were. I have got to find a way to not only navigate and lead through these times, but really to prosper, right? To go well. To prosper means that our journey is going to go well. Not just one area goes well at the expense of everything else, but really, are you positioned? Are you prepared? Are you poised to prosper and multiply? Multiply means increase, right? Increase in your gifts, increase in your finances, increase in your health, increase in your relationships during times such as this. This is exactly when God moves the most, especially in the hearts of men and women who are postured towards him, right? That are saying, yes, we are here for it, right? Let's go. So we had a beautiful retreat last week. It was a time of great blessing, healing, restoration, recalibration, all of it. And I want to invite you that if you have not joined me live for an event, a coaching program, get in the room in this masterclass, September 27th. Click on the link below, get registered, and make sure you're in the room. So that is the information on Prosper, the masterclass for kingdom minded men and women ready to multiply in all arenas of life. I mean, I really do believe we are called to be multipliers. And I want to talk about one of the things today that I'm going to touch on in the masterclass, but I want to share a story of how this really does play out in my own life. It's been about 4 or 5 years, probably 4 years, if I'm honest, where I really started to hand the keys over, right? Hand the keys over to God. And what I mean by that is I started to get out of my own way. I started to stop. I stopped really trying to control everything, grasping onto everything so tightly, trying to be the source of all the solutions, the fixer of all the problems. And it's been a journey, it's been a journey, it's a process, but really in stepping back and getting out of the way and allowing myself to really be led in the heart, led in the spirit, just led in the way that I do all things, really, in my business and my relationships, like across the board. And the reason why I keep saying all arenas across the board is that I don't believe that we can just be one person in one area and then be someone else in another area, because then we have this fragmentation that goes on, right? We're operating as one persona, one personality over here, and then another person over there, and we feel so fragmented and disconnected. And by the way, it's really exhausting to operate in that place. And I just want to share through the next series of podcasts a couple of things that came through um, from my time away last week with a group of women that I took to the retreat, but really my own experience as a leader, going through some things. I really solidified, opened my heart to the new ways of doing things that are really honestly working beautifully for me. I love the reminders that God drops into our atmosphere. So the first thing I want to talk about really is that we've talked about it so much on the show. We have talked about it so much on the show, but it is the art, the process of surrendering, really surrendering and trusting. And I really want to unpack this. I want to share a story of just most recently being stretched and surrendering and trusting in the process of the stretching. So one of the things I really work on myself, I work on this with our clients, is stretching our capacity to receive, right? It's amazing how terrible so many of us are at receiving a compliment, receiving a gift, receiving an increase in any way, maybe a financial increase or something beautiful to come into our atmosphere. Like we struggle. Some of us really struggle with receiving. We have a lot of head trash, limiting beliefs, garbage around, well, if I get something, that means I have to really deserve it. I have to have done a certain amount of work in order to get it. And we really resist receiving abundantly in our lives. And I mean, I really want to unpack this. We've talked about this so much, but if we don't understand how to receive more, we can't possibly give more. And they do go hand in hand, right? The more we give, the more we receive, the more we give from the right place, the more we receive. And I've been praying that God would just really stretch my own capacity, my own ability to be a receiver, right? So that I can pass the ball even more often to the right place. And so, I love to use sports analogies, but that's like, am I thinking the right way? Am I positioned in the right place? To really receive what you want to throw at me, that can I handle it in my character? Do I have the character that can handle what I'd love to receive, what you want to give me? And that was my prayer is, Lord, just stretch my capacity to receive, stretch my thinking around anywhere where I'm consciously or unconsciously limiting myself, limiting you, right? That's something else we do. We put these limits on ourselves. We put these limits on God too, right? And we just really limit. And so I love to pray that we just get that stretch. Well, I was praying that, and then I went to host this live event for these amazing women in Florida. And it's so funny because even the theme of this event that we just had was to be cherished, to really be held, to really be supported, to be well taken care of. And when you think about what the word prosper means, it means that your journey will go well. It will be well with you. And that wherever we go, it'll be well, right? We travel the road, the provision will be provided for. We'll have the resources that are required for the vision that we've been given. Everything we need is truly going to be provided. And we can have joy in the process, right? Whether it's starting a company, whether it's growing a company, whether it's restructuring a company, whether it's restructuring our family dynamics, like we can have joy in the process. We don't have to feel so heavy, miserable, stressed out, difficult, all of it. And so, isn't that funny that I pray, stretch me, Lord, stretch these ladies, stretch these women in their ability to receive. And by the way, I pray this for the men too, right? That you guys would be open to also receiving, because men, you got to receive too. And so, of course, I'm praying this. And as I'm preparing to go, we fly in. It's Thursday. We check into this Airbnb. I asked for an early check-in. I'm flying in with my chef. My chef flew in from Michigan. Hannah is an amazing, amazing chef. I'll put a link to her Instagram below. You guys, if you're looking for some amazing holistic healing foods, she is your woman. She's an amazing holistic health coach as well. But Hannah meets me at the airport. We decide to go get an early check in. We have a lot of groceries to purchase for 3 days of food. We're cooking all the meals. We have to prep the house. And so we check in to this place. And my heart just sank, sank when when I pulled into the driveway. I started to go, oh gosh, what is this, right? When I opened the door, my heart sank. Not only was the house so much smaller than those beautiful pictures showed on Airbnb. It was so much smaller. It was dark. It was darker. And if you guys know me, I love the light. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I've like repainted my whole office. It's cream, it's gold, it's light. I've got these big windows here. I do not have the typical podcast studio set up with the dark stuff in behind me. I like the light. I like to work in the light. I like to move in the light. I like to be surrounded by natural light. Light is so important, not only for our health, but just our just all of it, right? That I walked in there and it was dark. And outside, when I went out to check out the pool was about a third the size of what I thought it was going to be. And there was very little, if any, space outside in the yard for us to do any of our body work, our movement work. I had some art work that we were going to be doing, some art expression through art. And there was construction happening in the house next door. They had this big old tile cutter, and it was loud and it was obnoxious. And I just was like, I had a moment where I was like, God, this is not going to do. Like, this is not going to do. What am I going to do here? Right. I proceed to walk upstairs. And long story short, it just smelled like mildew. It smelled wet. When I walked up to the third floor where we were supposed to be having the women's day, some of the women's day, I just smelled right away that there was mildew or mold in the air. And I was like, no, we cannot. I will not have my people stay in this place. Obviously, we weren't going to let people stay in there. So by this time, it's 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I'm calling Airbnb and I'm like, we need a new location. I got, 5 of my close clients flying in tomorrow morning. My chef is already here. We've got to prepare the house. We need a new location. And I mean, if you think about it, it's high season. It's high season in Florida. We're wanting to find a luxurious, beautiful home that is empty on a whim at the last minute. I'm trying to get this, refund from the company. But I want to tell you guys that everything really was very smooth. It and this is why I want to say, like, God knows exactly what we need and desire before we even know it. He knows what we need even more than we know what we need. Because I thought I had booked that place based on the needs that I had. And in that moment, I called the Airbnb company and they said, you know what? No worries. We want you to be happy. We apologize. They were super apologetic. They're like, we're going to look through our network and we're going to find you another home, another location. At this point, the time's going on. By now it's like 5:30, time's going on. I was starting to feel those contractions, right? Those waves of, oh my gosh, are we going to actually be able to pull this off? Like, what's going to happen here? But I just kept praying and I kept being steady through it. And I just know, I just want to say, I know the character of God. And sometimes in those moments where we can be in the doubting, we can be in the questioning. And again, it can feel like the last hour and it can feel like things are not working out. They're difficult. They're disappointing. You don't see a solution. I couldn't find a place online. Really, I was looking. I couldn't find anything that exactly what I wanted. I was waiting on Airbnb to call me back and I was trying to do it my way, right? I ended up going on VRBO. I was going to book a totally different thing and just hope and pray that I was going to get my money back. And I tried to communicate with a couple houses and I didn't get any response back because a lot of them need more than 24 hours notice to book that size of a home at the last minute. So I had sent out my arrows and I wasn't really getting anything. So I was waiting and I was waiting. And finally, a message came through that they had found me an alternate property, that I needed to contact the new property. And there was some logistical things that needed to happen. And I just want to say that it was 9 p.m. at night. It was 9 o'clock at night before I received confirmation. At 9 p.m. that night, we were still in the original house. We had bought all the food. Now we were sitting there with food in the freezer, in the fridge, like waiting, basically, not knowing where we were going to put our clients the next day, not knowing, and sort of just handed it over, right? What could we do at this point? There was a brief thought, oh, should we cancel it? Of course not, because I wasn't going to do that. And at 9:30 at night, we received the message. We got confirmation that we were clear to go into this new home. They had found us a property. And I tell you, the pictures looked nice. But I was like, I don't know, right? I don't know. Why is this property empty at the last minute? Like, what's wrong with it, right? Sometimes we get questioning things. Well, I want to tell you that when we walked into that house, we stayed at the original night, just the two of us, and then we went first thing in the morning and we checked into this beautiful new home. And if I can just say that again, God knows exactly what we need and desire, and He also knows exactly how to bring it to us. Okay, He knows exactly how to bring it to us. And I want to say He really came through on this one. We moved into that house early in the morning. The ladies were not checking in around till noon. We got a beautiful, when I say beautiful, I mean stunning 4-story luxury villa with this rooftop patio overlooking the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. It was spectacular. It had a beautiful swimming pool that was about 3 or 4, maybe 5 times the size of the other pool, with just lounges and a swim up bar and an outdoor kitchen and copious amounts of space to spread out, to do our art, to do our body work. There was no houses around us. We had so much space to breathe, right? There was no construction going on, but really there was space. There was so much space that there was no house really around us overlooking at us. So we had this entire amazing home. Everything was top of the line, uh, really beautiful furnished. And we went from having a home that was dark to one having so much light, 4 stories, and it was just pure light. You didn't even really need to have the lights on in it. Every woman got her own master bedroom, master ensuite. There was room for everyone to have lots of connection and gathering and little nooks for us to have our sessions. And then there was also lots of places to tuck away. And I just love that because, again, you know, the other place was fine. We did have some women sharing rooms, and we do that all the time at our live events. People will share a room, and that can be a beautiful experience. But for this group, I really know that that was done on purpose. Um, and there was just so much. We had this rooftop patio, like I mentioned. At night, the stars were all shining. We had the candles out there. We were doing some evening routines and body work up there. We had the pool, and it kept surprising. It had an elevator and it had so many fun things. But really, what I loved about the whole experience is that not only was it everything that I originally wanted in our location for this event, it exceeded my expectations. It exceeded my asks. It exceeded my desire. It was so much more than I asked for. It was more than I originally imagined. It was more than I really knew was available. And here's the cool thing: we were the first people, the first group to stay in that Airbnb, that vacation rental property. And that's why it was empty, right? It had just gone on the market. So here we are in this absolutely stunning home. It had just been put out on the market. We're the first ones to get to be there, like untouched, beautiful, remote, everything we need, and so much more is provided. And it keeps going. And I received this home for half the price of the original booking. So now not only did my profitability go up, right? But I saved a ton. I received money back. I received like triple the amount of home. It was just like everything was exceedingly beautiful, exceedingly abundant, exceedingly like, yes, yes, yes. We received this. This is amazing. And oh, by the way, it also cost me less, right? And I want to share a couple things about this. Number one, that original home that we had booked, I'm just going to put this out there. We booked that home, and I rarely do this, but I did it. And I noticed in retrospect, we booked that initial property out of pressure. Okay. There was some pressure at that time when we booked the home. There was some pressure around timelines. There was some pressure about just we needed to get it done. I had outsourced that, delegated it to someone else. Right. And so there was a couple things there that I always say this: when we initiate something out of pressure, it always comes back to hit us in the face. It creates more pressure. So that was a really important point for me to reflect on, is that when we create out of pressure, when we create out of time pressure or scarcity or feeling this like external thing squeezing us to make a decision, it always creates more of whatever that energy is that we're initiating it. Secondly, God always knows exactly what we need better than we know, right? He really did know that what every single woman in that group needed, from the amount of women that came, like even the number of women, right? It was one of my smallest, most intimate retreats, to be honest. And it was interesting because we were supposed to have extra women and some couldn't make it, some had to cancel. And it was like these core five. It kept coming back to these core five. And I know now, after doing the work with these women, that it was exactly what it was meant to be on purpose. And these women needed this time to really be held, to be really taken care of. And it was just such a manifestation of how God works. And, so here's the thing, that even when things look difficult, when we are disheartened, when we're initially disappointed, right? There's another way. There's another way. There's another thing available and waiting. And the key is to relax, to trust, to surrender, to lean in and be clear, right? Be clear on the standard. I was clear on the standard with the management company. I was like, this is not the standard. I wasn't going to deviate from the standard. It was like, I knew that it was going to be excellent. I knew that it was going to be beautiful. I knew that we were going to have a beautiful experience. And even when the timeline was getting crunched, the chronological time, I did not bend to it, meaning I stayed relaxed. And I want to share that when we operate in this space, there is truly no sorrow added, no striving, no anxiousness in this sense, because um, we just know the character of God, right? I think that sometimes, there's a lot of talk out there about, yeah, just trust, it'll all work out and it will. But we really know how solid our faith is, how solid our spirituality is. For some of us who say we're spiritual but not religious, that's fine. I'm not religious either. I have a relationship with God. Uh, but we really get to know how solid our faith is, how real our relationship is with God, with our Creator, with our Father, with the spiritual when we get squeezed, right? And I really witness that sometimes with people. And I just want to say this, in that moment last week, I did not want to disappoint my women. Of course, I really wanted to have an amazing retreat. I had a lot of things planned. I had my plans, but God had his plans. And when my plans didn't come through, when it didn't show up the way I thought it was going to, when it looked like it was kind of a shit show, excuse my language, I knew, just knew that I knew that I knew in my bones and my soul, like I was still at peace inside. I wasn't restless. I could have like gone. I did actually. I went to bed that night totally relaxed without even walking into the house. I just knew, because I know his character. I know he is the one that comes through. I know that he always has a better plan, a better way if my plan and my way is not working. There is a trust because I know his character. And I just want to really put a pin in that. For those of us who say we're in a relationship, or we're in our walk of faith and maybe we're spiritual but not religious or whatever, how are you when you get squeezed? How are you when things don't go according to your plans? How are you when it's the last hour and it feels like you're in a pressure cooker and people are waiting on you and people are expecting great things from you, and it's like nothing seems like it's coming together? How are you in those moments, right? How is your spirit? How is your body? Can you still breathe? Can you still relax? This is what it means to really be in the surrender, experiment in the trust. And I really believe that this is one of the core characteristics of leaders who multiply, leaders who prosper in all arenas. And it doesn't matter if it's our relationships, our business, our finances, our health, in parenting, just name it, whatever it is. When we're prospering, it's going well, right? The journey, even though there's speed bumps, even though we get cut off, even though things don't go according to plan, it doesn't mean that there won't be contractions. It doesn't mean that there won't be hiccups. It doesn't mean that there won't be hard left turns. But what it does mean is that in the ride, in the wild ride of the reorganization, which is what I believe that was last week, and it was a reorganization to get things right for the right group right there, right? In the reorganization, in the restructuring, how are you? How is your body? How is your heart? How is your head, your mindset? How is your spirit? Right? This is a big telltale sign and something we must train. We must be in the training of trusting. We must be in the training of surrendering. We must be in the training of relaxing ourselves in these processes, right? Of restructuring. And I want to finish with that because I love that word of restructuring and reorganizing. I had this happen in my business, not once, but multiple times. It's happening right now at some levels. I work with clients that are going through massive restructurings and reorganizations inside of their companies, big companies, right? I worked with clients who had gone through massive restructuring and rebuilding and restoring of their marriages. And while the surface thing may look different, and I know today I was just talking about, a vacation, a retreat home for an event. But if you think about whatever that thing is in your business where you have clients waiting on you and expecting a certain level of something and you are trying to do it, but it's not really working out according to your plans or whatever, the concept is transferable. That in these restructuring, things don't look, it's hard to see if you're just looking at the surface that things are actually working out. What you might see is a mess. What you might see is disorder. What you might see is that nothing is working, right? So be very careful what you focus on. Be very careful what you train yourself to fix your gaze on. Are you looking at the surface level information, or are you able to go beyond what meets the eye? Beyond the superficial, beyond the three-dimensional facts, reality right here, right now, and go, what else is going on that I'm not seeing? What do I know is happening behind the scenes? Can I trust? It is a beautiful, beautiful shift when you begin to play, to operate, to live in that space because you are no longer held hostage to everything at the surface level. But we just get so surprised. And oh, there was more. There was more. Even in that beautiful home, we went from not having a golf cart or any transportation other than our car to having a beautiful golf cart that sat all big enough for all the women, right? Every woman got her own bicycle there already delivered. It just kept going. There was everything we needed and so much more. The new location. We had this beautiful stand-up paddleboard session we were doing. Originally, the company, based on our previous location, was like, "Do you want to be in the ocean or the the lake?" And we were kind of having to choose. And this new location brought us into a space where we had exposure to both the ocean and the lagoon. It was just there was yes and right. Why do we have to pick? We got delivered so much more when we just let go, let go of control, stop getting in the way, trust in the process, understand the character of God, know the character of God, and believe according to that. And I want to finish by saying this is that a lot of us, that's where we have trouble trusting, right? We know the character of someone, and so we have trouble trusting because the character of that person, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's somebody in your family, maybe it's an employee, has proven not to be trustworthy, has proven to be inconsistent, has proven to be whatever, wishy-washy, hot, cold, yes one time, no another, right? Inconsistency, all these things. So our character is so important. Our character, who we are, consistently when we're squeezed and when things are going amazing. It's amazing to be all high vibing and full of faith and all the good things when things are working in your favor. But how is your character when you're squeezed, when you're triggered, when somebody pokes the bear, when things don't go your way? We really recently had to release a relationship with someone who we observed a real character shift when this person did not receive the information they wanted to hear. And it was a huge telltale sign for my husband and I that this was a wise decision for us. That when someone's character really is revealed, when they're squeezed, and that's how you know, do I want these people on my team? Do I want them in my corner? Who are the people in your corner? Who are the people that you run with? Who are the people that mentor you, that you surround yourself with? Are they men and women of integrity, of character? When they're squeezed, they're solid. So I'm going to finish this podcast where I started. We are in unprecedented times. Things are moving fast. We are culturally, like, there are things happening in our culture that are shocking. There are things happening in our world that are making people ask some really big questions, right? And there's just things happening globally, um, in politics and economics. Like, there's a lot of things. And right now, we can choose to be reactive to the surface level. We could choose to operate from fear. We could choose to operate from pressure, or we can really choose to be men and women who drop in and allow ourselves to be led during these times, to navigate during these times. And I do believe that it is in times such as this that we are called to multiply and prosper more than ever, because that is the contrast. It's like, what is it about these people that seem to be lighter when everything feels heavier, that seem to continue to grow when everything else is shrinking, right? This is not about us getting heavy and battle weary, fighting what's going on in the world, but we got to learn to engage differently, to fight differently, and to have the character of someone who multiplies and prospers in all areas of life. We have much work to do, right? We have much work to do, but we got to get things right, in the right order, in the right internal structure first, our hearts, our minds, our spirit, so that the outer structure will take care of itself. So, September 27th, Prosper, the masterclass. Make sure you sign up. Click on the link below. We're going to be diving into this conversation and more. I'm excited. Make sure you share that link with someone else. And if you guys have not already left a review for this show, I would love to hear from you. I would love to read your review. I always read them. I love reading them. I love to hear from you. If you haven't connected with us on Instagram at the Christine Jewel, make sure you connect with me. And wherever you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on the podcast, make sure that you connect with us. I do truly read every single response, every single comment. It's exciting. And I'm here for you. I'm here for it. I'm here for you guys. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this conversation. We'll see you in the next time. And just remember, this is your time. You were called for such a time as this. And if you are right here, right now, at this moment in time, in a position of leadership, it is not on purpose. What will you do with it? How will you lead through these times? I pray that you will master the art of surrender, of trusting, of leaning in to getting to know God's character even more. And if you want to go deeper into this, make sure you register for the upcoming masterclass, Prosper. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely, leading courageously. Bye for now.